All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our little bit cobbled together local hop calendar training for the new website. As some of you probably know by now, our calendar on our current website will no longer be supported by the end of July. July 31st is when we were given the cutoff date. And the vendor that provides it, Demco, has stated that they will not be replacing it with anything. So we do have to change calendars, whether we want to or not. Thankfully, though, the vendor that we are working with to develop the new website for the library, Synergy, LocalHop, they use the names interchangeably. They also provide several products for libraries, digital products, including a calendar. And since we already intended to use their calendar on the new website, we just made the decision to go ahead and implement it sooner than we intended. It will show up on our existing website, but that does mean that we, as the staff of the library, do need to learn how to use it. Most of you are familiar with our current calendar system, Evanced, which is produced by Demco. And for those of you who use the calendar that we currently have, I think you'll find that this is very similar. I personally find it very easy to use. I've used Evance for several years for my own programs at the various locations that I've worked. And as I started playing around with the LocalHop calendar, the demo versions that they gave us, I really found it to be even easier to use than Evanced. It renders a little bit cleaner. Um, it's got a few more features, some of which we may not use, but just as you start playing around with it a little bit more, I think you'll find that it's probably the better product for what we intend it to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I will show you the demo version that LocalHop has set up for us. And this is going to be the environment that we will use to train all of you. For those of you who missed the in-person training, you can actually get log-on access to this demo version and play around with it a bit. But what we are going to be doing is, as of right now, the plan is to create logins for each individual location, each branch outreach. And at the main library, we will create logins for the various departments that are housed there. If it becomes necessary in the future to add more users, we do have administrator status, so we can do that. But for now, just getting started, we're going to go ahead and just create a single login for each branch that everybody will use. And it will be up to the branch managers to decide if we need more. But we do want to get this implemented by April 2024. I know it will be in the middle of One Book, One Community, but we also want to get this implemented and everybody familiar with it before summer reading starts in the summer. We don't want to go down to the last minute with Advanced in the middle of the summer trying to implement this catalog. We thought this was probably going to be the least problematic option. So what will happen is we will give everybody access to the login screen for LocalHop's calendar management. It will be up to us in computer division to figure out how to make it render on the web page, but we don't anticipate that it will look a whole lot different than what we've got right now. This is, of course, the administration version of it. When you first log in, this is what you will see. And this is a demo version over here. So what we have here is the training environment, the East Baton Rouge Parish Library training environment. And if you click on this drop down, all you will see is this. However, when you log into the actual system, you will see, well, the administrators will see all the different branches. I think that when we create the logins for the individual branches, I think the plan is for you to only have access to your branch. So for example, Carver will only have access to Carver and so on. The administrator should have access to all of the locations, but for now, if your staff working at your branch, don't worry about that just for now. So when you log in, what you'll see is something that looks a lot like this. So there's a lot of options here. This is not really populated because we only just got this a couple of days ago, but the actual calendar will have, we hope, all of your scheduled events that are currently in Evanced. And when I did look at the actual environment, I did see for each branch, we did have the most recent events that were in Evanced. Now, what we did with that is we, on January 5th of this year, we exported the data that was in our current calendar to LocalHop to upload to their system. So anything that was added after January 5th is not in the current LocalHop calendar. But we do plan to do a second export before this goes live. So anything that you have added since January 5th and now, we will do in a second export up to the system before we pull the plug on the Evanced calendar and implement the LocalHop calendar. We will give you guys a heads up on when not to add any more events to the Evanced calendar. However, we anticipate that there probably will be a crack that a few events will fall through. So once this goes live, please make plans to go through your calendars and see if anything was missed. You may have to re-enter it into the LocalHop calendar. Once we have done that export, we'll give the green light on when you can go ahead and just start adding things to the LocalHop calendar instead of Evanced. And these things should go ahead and show up. Again, we expect there to be some bumps in the road, so please be patient. This is, I think once we start using it, the bugs will slowly work its way out of the system. But for now, let's go ahead and I'll show you a few of the features. Up here in organization, you won't have to fool around with a whole lot of this, but I want to show it to you anyway. For the individual branches, you won't have to worry about profile or anything like that. This will just show you a description of, you see, they've actually already added here is a description of your branch or your location, who gets the email. This will probably be either the branch manager or the reference librarian, the website. You can actually add some images if you want. And you can put some information about your branch, but we're probably going to have this already set up for you by the time this goes live. This would be where we add a few more users. Right now in the test environment, it's just me, Ashley, Amanda, and Bryce in computer services, but we can actually add some, we can remove some. So as you can see for your locations, it's really not that hard to add users. Just in the beginning of all this, we think it's best to have just one user for each branch, and then as we start needing more users, we can add them. Now, the form builder, this is probably going to be of interest to outreach, or those of you who have limited space at your locations. You can actually create a form where people can register for your event. And what I did here, I actually created one for recycled reads. And I actually did this using the existing one that we have, the various fields that we have for registering for their recycled reads sale, the book sale. So you can actually create one. And as you see here, I tried to go ahead and create a form based on the one we currently have with a required field for first name and last name and phone number. Email I left optional. And you can actually choose a drop-down menu where they can choose which time frame they want to go to, or you can leave that off and create a separate entry for each time frame. And there's a couple reasons why you might want to do that. If you need to generate lists of who's coming, this system will actually do that. So does Advanced, but it's a little clunky. But if you needed to generate lists for specific time frames or specific events, it might be better to go ahead and create a separate entry and a separate form for each one. But just to walk you through the process of creating a form, it's really very easy. You would come up here to this green button, click on add a new form, and you would give it a name. So, let's say at your branch you're having maybe a sensory story time and you want to limit the number of people who can come just for space reasons or something like that. So you might do story time sensory. And over here you can add different fields to your form. You can do a text field where you would say like full name, where they would have to put their first and last name. And you can choose to make that a required field if you want to. You can choose a text area. So let's say for sensory story time, you may have some children that have special needs. So you might need to do something like this. Oops, can't type today. And let's not make that required. And what that will do is we'll create a little text box where they can type in free form text and give any special requests like we need the lights off or something like that. You can create a drop-down box where you could put something like number of children attending. And you probably want to make that required. And you can do one child, and then you would come over here if you need to add a field to and then you would save it. And you can see here, this is what they would get if they would do a drop down. You can also do a checkbox. You would give it a label. You might say a new participant. And here you could put, this is where you would have to it gets a little tricky. You have to do like this. It's not letting me. Huh. Okay, well, apparently they want you to upload this as document form. But that is something you can do. The demo version doesn't seem to have all the features as the main administrative function, but this is where you would do that. And I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. So then you would save it. And now you can see we have a form for recycled reads and one for sensory story time. And you can actually come in and edit these at any time. So in normal library operations, we don't often need registration, but some of our more specialized departments, like Career Center or Special Collections or Small Business, they might need to limit the number of people who come to their programs for logistics. So you can actually create a registration form. Notifications, you can get notifications for when people sign up or for other events that you create. And you can just choose who gets that email. If you have a branch email you want that sent to, or perhaps the reference librarian or something like that, you can put that email address in here. You can add age groups. For this demo version, we have infant and toddler, youth, senior, teen, and adult. But what if we wanted to do an event for 20-somethings? You can actually add that. And you would choose 20-somethings. And these calendars allow you to color code. So, the children's events have one color, teen events have another. So you can actually choose a color. And let's see, let's do obnoxious orange. There we go. So 20-somethings can be obnoxious orange. And that is how the calendar will color code the various events. So we'll save that age group. Must include one roll-up calendar. Well, let's go ahead and put it under adult because they are adults. There we go. So you can actually add that. You have to add it to the active age groups. And the way you would do that is you would click on one and move them back and forth like this, kind of similar to the way we do it in vSmart. Let's just go ahead and add all of these for our demo purposes. Now, it might actually be that your organization, your branch or location may be using an additional venue. I don't anticipate us using this a lot. I really think outreach will probably use this the most. For example, if they're out at the book festival or something like that, you can actually add a venue. For example, if the bookmobile is going to be somewhere it isn't normally, you can do that. You can name it. You can put the address, any additional information. I'm not going to do that right here, but I just wanted to show you this feature is available if perhaps you find yourself doing something at a different venue representing the library. So heads up outreach, I think y'all might actually end up using that more than we do. Okay, so now let's get to the good stuff, how to create an event. Um, this is actually, as I said before, it's very easy. You would click on create event, and as you can see, it's very similar to Evanced. If maybe the interface I find just a little bit cleaner. Actually, it's a little less busy than Evanced. But let's go ahead and create a demo version. I run a crochet and a knitting group at the main library, so let's go do something like crazy crochet. Yeah, I cannot spell today. Sorry, y'all. And there's different event types. It can be either a class or and we're never going to use camp. But it's going to be either a class or an event, and I'm going to do this as an event. The computer instruction classes will probably use the class format, but this is just a different way that the calendar will filter events. And here, we can do just a brief description, just like we do in Evance. We can do a couple of lines just letting people know what it's about. And just like anything else, you would just like any PIS forms or your the app on the hub that we use to schedule events. You want to put, information if people need to bring their own supplies, or if it's for, it's not for beginners, it's for intermediates. This be sure to put that in there. Don't write a novel, but just enough to let the patrons know what the event is about. There's not going to be a lot of times when we have individual URLs, but we do have them for like Maker Faire or something like that. I know that Career Center has their own website. Small business has their own info guides or something like that. If you feel that that's information the patrons need to know, you can put that in there. Um, let them know if it's a website and for URL, which for us it probably will be because we'll be using our own website and our info guides. But this is not a required field. So if your event doesn't need it, then don't worry about it. Now, if it's a virtual event, we have been having virtual events, virtual Arthur Talks, stuff like that. But definitely let the patrons know that it is. For the virtual event option, you can actually put the URL. If it's going to be over Zoom or something like that, you would put the URL. If it's a virtual phone call, just put all that information in here. Any additional information, for those that are doing Zoom, you might want to put the meeting ID and any passwords. And you can show only to registered users or to everyone. But my event is not virtual, so I'm going to uncheck that. Now for here, you have to put in the location. If you are scheduling for a branch, chances are you will do it often enough to where it will auto save your branch's address. But for here, I'm going to just put in a fictitious one. Now, for the purpose of how it will render color coded on the website, you do need to choose category. And you'll do that, the age groups are what render in color. But on our new website, we are going to set it up to where if you go to certain places on the new website, for example, the children's section, you click on a story time button, we will have it filter all the events, all the story time events into that one feed on that page. This is a demo version, so it doesn't have all of the stuff we're going to have. For example, in our administration one for the library that shows all the branches, there's a few more selections in here, which include like library event, classes, stuff like that. But in this demo version, it doesn't show that. So for now, I'm just going to choose cool stuff. But our actual administration environment will have a lot more categories that we will use as a library. If your event is open to everybody, you can just click all age groups. Or if it's just for a specific age group, then you would only choose that age group. And on the calendar, it will actually show those color codes so that people looking at the calendar can tell from the color, oh, this is for adults, or oh, this is for teens. Now, the fun part, you can actually upload an image. When we get the new calendar working on the new website, when it shows upcoming events, it will show graphics. People can click on a hyperlink graphic and it will take them to the calendar event. So I'm going to encourage everybody to consider using graphics. You can go to pexels.com, Pexels, or you can go to Unsplash. Those are all open source graphics images, or just have fun with paint, something like that. But try to think about starting to use graphics to make this a little bit less boring as far as the calendar goes. Um, from our, from our surveys that we sent out to the patrons regarding the website, there was some requests that we use more graphics. You don't have to, but I'm going to encourage you to start making that a bit of a habit. I don't actually have a graphic for my crochet class, so I'm going to use the story time one from the New Orleans Library. And it will show that graphic on the calendar when the patrons hover over it or when it renders on the new website. So we're going to save and continue. Oops. Oh, I guess I have to use an actual address. Doesn't like Freddy Krueger's house. All right, let's just do the main library. Guess it's going to check that. Okay. So now this is where we put the date and time for the event. So if this is a one-time thing, you would choose no repeat. Then you would choose the day this is going to happen. So this actually advances you a year. And the smaller arrows advance you by 1 month. So I'm going to choose March 2nd. Then you would choose the start time. If it goes longer than an hour, you can choose that as well. Or if it's an all-day event, like Maker Faire or something like that, you can choose that this is an all-day event. So you click continue, make sure everything's good, click confirm, and there you go. Now, if this is something that requires ticketing, you can actually use LocalHop's ticketing system, but we don't really do that, so I don't really think we'll have to use that a whole lot. This might come into play for future events, like, one-time events that happen perhaps at the main library in the large meeting room. But for now, let's go ahead and say no ticketing. We're going to leave that blank because we want everything to show up on the event calendar. If you're not ready to publish it yet, you would leave it save as draft, save and publish, or you can schedule and publish. I typically go ahead and do save and publish. And there we go. The event has been created. So if we come over here to our events calendar and we go ahead to March, we can see that my Crazy Crochet is there. And this will look different to the patrons. They'll actually, when they click on it, they won't see all this stuff. They'll just see, the description and the time. But this is how we start to populate the new website. No, the new calendar. Now you can actually see upcoming events as a list. And these little color-coded things here will tell you if it's been published or if it's just been saved. You want this to be green in your administrative calendar because that tells you that the event is published. If it's not green, then it's not showing up on the actual calendar. Now let's say you made a mistake. You need to go back and edit something. You would click on this little pencil here, and that will bring you back to the edit screen, and you can go in and change whatever it is. Let's say you wanted to add, let the TNs come to the crochet. You can do that. But any changes you make sure you save and continue. And make sure you save and publish. And there's the events calendar. Now, the stuff over here, you're probably not going to use a whole lot. The snippets are just areas where we can generate different URL codes for the different calendars. Those of you who are just putting in events, don't worry about this. But it will show, just to show you, it will actually generate different calendar views and give you the URL. But we're going to handle that, those of us who maintain the website, so don't worry about that. Now, reports is something some of you might be interested in. For those of you who have events that have people registered, you might want to run a report to see how many people are registered. So if you come over here to event list report, what it did here is it showed the two events that I've actually created. And if you come over here, it'll tell you how many people have registered if you used a ticketed event. And it will tell you, we obviously we don't charge for our events, but that would be information it would render if we did. So I have a list of things to ask. So showed locations, how to add graphics. Oh, recurring events, yes. So going back to creating an event, what if you have something that occurs more than once? Obviously, we do story time, so let's do another story time event. And let's do that for 3 to 4-year-olds. And we'll make it just the way we did before. Really? Okay. And I'll do this as cool stuff. Maybe we'll do it. Let's do educational. It isn't really, but I want to try something a little different. And it will be for infant and toddler. And let's go ahead and upload another picture. There we go. So we'll save and continue. Now, what you want to do for a recurring event is you will enter in all of the upcoming dates in this field. So let's say you do, we're going to say that it repeats. Let's say it repeats weekly. You have story times every Friday morning. So you would have it repeat every week. If you do it every other week, you would do it every 2 weeks and so on. Choose a start date. So let's go ahead and choose March 15th. And start time, let's do that at 9 a.m. We'll do it to 10 p.m. and 10 a.m. And we will do this on Fridays. Now you can choose a date that it will end, or you can choose it to end after so many occurrences. If you know you do it every week, then you might want to choose an actual date. But if this is something that occurs monthly and you want to plan it out for the entire year, and you know it's every third Saturday of the month, you can choose that as well. And you might want to choose that to end after 12 occurrences, and that would have you scheduled for the year. But for now, let's go ahead and just choose a calendar date. Let's have it end in December. Let's have it end on December 20th. So it will show you all of the dates that it has planned out, and it's quite a few of them. So you want to double check that these are correct. Of course, you can always go back and edit them, but you would confirm those dates. In my case, with my crochet group, we don't meet on the same Saturday of the month. We meet whenever the room is free at the main library. So we've had situations where we met on the first Saturday of the month, the third Saturday of the month, second Saturday, and it changes every month. So what I had to do with that is I had to go in and put every single date that we were going to meet into the calendar. So that meant I created the initial entry. And then when I got to this point, what I did was, this is not coming up, maybe I did too many. What I did was I went in and added each individual date instead of a repeat. So, well, let me go ahead and cancel this. It's taking a little while. Well, maybe not. What I did was I went over here to this green button and I added date and time for each one for each meeting. Since we only meet once a month, I had to do it about 12 times for 2024. But then once that was done, I was done for the year. I don't have to go back and do an individual description for each time. All I had to do was add in the dates. Okay, maybe that was a little too many. So let's try this again. Let's do this monthly. I'll show you what I did for my crochet group. We'll do the start date as February 24th. Start time, it's 2 o'clock. And if I wanted to do it, let's say we did meet every second Saturday. You can do this. You meet every second Saturday of the month. And we'll have this end after 12 occurrences. There we go. And you should see this after you've done adding all of your dates. So what we would do is save and publish this. And then when we go to our events calendar, there it is. Story time for 3 and 4-year-olds showing up. Oh, it actually did do the previous ones here. Yeah, so I messed that up a little bit. It did actually put in my previous every Friday, and then it did every Saturday as well. So you can see it did that. And if you mess that up, you can go back in and change it. Just go in and delete those dates. And if you generate the list, you can actually see all the upcoming events that are scheduled. And you could search them, which is also very helpful. And as I understand it, it does search the text as well as the title of the event. So that's incredibly helpful. Now, let's say you wanted to delete an event. You can go in to the edit event here. And it's really just as simple as going down here and hitting this delete button. And you can remove the event. You can also cancel the event if you need to. Okay, so it canceled like one of them. So yeah, you have the option of canceling only one of the events or canceling the entire thing. So there we are. That's the quick version of how to use the LocalHop calendar. I think once we play around with it a little bit, we'll find that it's fairly user friendly. Like anything else, it's new, so there's a little bit of hesitancy and nervousness about making sure that we're using it properly and that it shows up the way we want it to. We're just going to have to play with it a bit, but I think once we get the hang of it, we're going to find it easier to use than the Demco calendar, and I think it will be a little bit more user friendly for the patrons. So that's all I have, and I hope you all found this video useful. Feel free to ask us any questions you might have. You can email me at Computer Division or Amanda, and we'll see if we can solve any problems that might come up. So thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all out there.